Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm not going to get into the scam series tonight, but I'm going to get into something that, depending on who you are and how you interpret this topic, it could be a scam. And what I'm going to talk about is education. And I'm going to say this: education does not make you intelligent. Education does not make you intelligent. Now, why am I doing this topic? Because I've gone through these YouTube streets, and what I've seen, particularly in these spaces, and I see it more from women, that they believe that having a degree makes them educated and intelligent. And when I hear them on panels talk, they sound like they're using the same playbook. And the playbook is indoctrination. Now, I'm not saying going to school, getting a degree is bad. I have many degrees myself. I don't even brag about my degrees. And the reason why I say education doesn't make you intelligent is for this reason. When you go to college, you choose a major, and that major is something that you're interested in. Now, don't get me wrong here. You can take some of the classes, such as English, even history, mathematics, and you can use those in everyday life. But when it comes to getting degrees, and again, we're going to go to a number of women who think they are much better than men because they have a college education. Number one, the real education is life. See, having a degree and majoring in something that you want to do, you have to ask yourself this question: is what you're doing marketable? And I see many individuals in these streets with degrees, and the women have debt. You know, all this information about, well, I'm making six figures. No, you have debt. I guarantee a number of you have a debt to income ratio that is poor. Because, as I will tell you, when it comes to college, a lot of what you learn in college is based off of regurgitating information from a professor. I know, I was a student myself. I sat there and even questioned some of these college professors. And a lot of these college professors, they've gotten PhDs because many of them, they couldn't function out here in the real world. Now, I am not making it all PhDs bad, because if you were a PhD and you've been out in the real world, you've been working, and then you decide to go into academia, more power to you. I'm going to respect you. But you have a number of individuals who are getting worthless degrees, and what they're getting a degree in is not marketable. Now, if you like history, that's fine. If you're going to get a degree in psychology, engineering, education, accounting, and any other science, let's say you want to go to school to be a lawyer, you want to go to school to be a doctor, what's going to make you stand out is you need a license. See, just getting a degree, and I will put it out to you this way: in engineering, yes, I can speak with intelligence. However, when you have an individual who has common sense and they're listening to me, but I cannot recognize the obvious, that means I'm not intelligent. I am book smart. There's the difference. Many individuals who go to college are smart in what they study. And let me tell you this, when you go to school for a particular major, you don't even know everything about that major. Why? Because there's not enough hours in a day, let alone semesters, to learn everything about that major. You have to do a lot of reading on your own. And I say this because depending on what you study in college, some of the textbooks are very, very thick, and you will not do every problem in that textbook. In fact, professors don't even have enough time to teach you everything in that textbook. So, what they're going to do is pick certain areas within that textbook and they're going to test you. And a lot of what you learn in college, for the most part, is all memorization. In fact, a college degree is a minimum requirement for doing virtually working for somebody else. That's what it is. It's a requirement for getting a job. And the number of jobs that you hear a number of these individuals talk about how intelligent they are, they're only making $40,000 to $50,000 a year. That's nothing, especially if you cannot manage your money. So, again, I am not criticizing people who want to go get an education, but let me tell you something. If you have a degree, it doesn't make you better than a person who doesn't have a degree. Everybody cannot afford to go to college, and college is not for everybody. I look at college today as more of an indoctrination fest. It is facts. You learn a lot more about social activism, which is bullshit. You learn about feminism. A number of women out there, they regurgitate what they hear. They don't even know what feminism is, but it sounds good. And here on YouTube, a lot of your educated women in these streets aren't really bright themselves. They don't have common sense. They're trying to be right all the time, and they're trying to use their degree as a weapon. Well, let me tell you something. Just because you speak intelligently, it doesn't mean you are intelligent. Understanding how the real world works and knowing where to find the information and what information to use, because I hear a number of people quoting statistics, and I've said this over and over and over again. Statistics change every day. In fact, the statistic is a sample, and you must know where the statistics come from. I do statistics. I can take a confidence level of 95% and put a number in there and multiply by the standard deviation. You wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. But what you're doing, you're quoting something that everybody else is saying. Let me put this out there too, because I hear a number of so-called educated people talking about the word narcissist. Many of you don't even know what a narcissist is. In fact, if you're going to prescribe somebody as a narcissist, you need to have a license. You need to be a licensed psychiatrist or a psychologist. And see, I notice a number of educated individuals, when they get up on these panels, they act as if they are much greater in smarts than somebody who isn't. Now, just because you don't speak clearly, it doesn't mean you're a dummy. Some people don't know how to structure their points. But in these streets, particularly these YouTube streets, I see a number of individuals, and I'm not going after women, but a number of you women are the ones who brag about your degrees. And I'm going to put this out here right now. For somebody who has a degree, I don't care about your degree because I know your degree, even if you have a PhD, was much easier than mine. It was. I guarantee you didn't have to go through as much math and science, and you didn't have to study as hard. Now, I'm not saying what you did was easy. No, but I guarantee the reason why you got a PhD is because when you went to get a degree in sociology or humanities, couldn't get a job. Now, unless you were going to law school, which law school, in my humble opinion, is pretty saturated as well. Most individuals, when you go up the chain and get a PhD, what are you doing with your degree? Shout out to Aaron Cleary of Asshole Consulting. He has brought this information out as well because he went to college. He majored in finance, and he thought finance was a waste of money. Now, I'm going to tell you this, even with engineering, unless you get a PE, engineering is a waste of time too. You go to school, you learn all your calculus, you learn all of your mechanics of materials, all that crap, because think about this. Your curriculum has got to be accredited by some programmatic accreditation, like all your engineering and your engineering technology programs are accredited by ABET. So the instructor is going to align the course with ABET. In fact, your whole curriculum has to be aligned with ABET. Now, I'm just talking about engineering right now. And what ABET does, they come in every 4 years to review your program to see if you are meeting their standards. And if you're not, you're going to have to go back and correct your curriculum or just sunset your curriculum altogether or sunset your ABET accreditation. Now, what I mean by sunset is just get rid of your program. But again, getting back onto this, getting a degree. Getting a college degree does not make you intelligent. Certainly, it does make you a candidate. It does make you a candidate who can be trained for a job. You have a number of individuals who have degrees who are working for somebody. And I guarantee the amount of money that you're making for your major is not at the top tier level. In other words, you're not making $200,000, $300,000 majoring in humanities or women's studies or LGBTQ studies. Heck, engineers don't even make that kind of money. And if you are a lawyer, unless you're working at a prestigious law firm, I guarantee you're not making a lot of money either. Why? Because when you have a lot of bachelor's degrees out here, well, you saturate the market with bachelor's degrees. Employers can set the wages. And again, how you speak. Yes, you may speak intelligently, but how are you moving? What are your actions like? Are you a good listener? And I've seen it here on these YouTube streets, see these panels. Number of individuals, they want to weaponize their degree by saying they're scholars. You're not a scholar with a degree. Now, if you have common sense, you can apply some of that information that you learn in school to the real world, then I could say you're intelligent, because there's a difference between intelligence and education. Many of us get the two misconstrued. You can be intelligent without a degree. Now, as far as education, again, and I'm going to repeat it over and over and over again, it's what you study in school. And when I talk about women, I've seen it with women across the board, Black women, white women, a number of these westernized women. They think because they have a degree that they've made it. You haven't made it because you're still working for somebody. And many of you have jobs that are pushing paper. Now, if you're a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or an accountant or a psychologist or even something where you need a state certification, you're excluded from this conversation. However, if you majored in something that is in humanities or social science, well, I don't have any love for you if you think you're smarter than somebody who doesn't have a degree, because your degree, in my humble opinion, is easy. I had to take sociology and psychology. Psychology 101, very easy. I read the books. I liked psychology. I could have been a psychologist if I wanted to. I do a lot of videos on psychology, but I didn't want to be a psychologist. In fact, if I were a psychologist, I would have a license. But having a degree is a requirement to get the job. And a degree and a specific major that you're interested in is minimal too. Because in order for you to learn a lot about what you're doing, your field, you have to have experience. That's where you get your education from, experience. Because if you don't have experience, you're not learning anything. In school, you learn about theory and only theory. And if you're looking up information, you can use it for an argument. Because I hear a number of individuals are quoting statistics. Well, again, let me get back into statistics. First of all, you have to understand what the numbers mean. You have to understand how the CDC or a college professor or students come up with the numbers. Then you have to look at the numbers on a graph. How are they trending? And when it comes to statistics, statistics are skewed. You can only use a statistic as a sample. You know, in a country of 300 million people, a statistic of 100,000 people is a very small sample. You're not going to get accurate results. You have to understand what you're reading when it comes to statistics. Many people, they don't know how to get the mean, mode, the median, and the standard deviation. Fortunately, I do. Many of them don't understand weighted observation or error propagation. You see, you can get education without a degree. And here's how you can do it. You do enough reading and you apply it to what's going on out in the real world. Because in a sense, you have to know what's going on every day out here. You have to be your own media. Because a lot of this media that you hear, you have a lot of degreed individuals who do nothing but tell lies. It's all propaganda. And when you tell the truth out here, you're vilified. And this is that woke mentality. And that's what college teaches you. Teaches you how to be woke, but really you're not awake. You're asleep. People who are woke, the real woke people, know what's going on out here in the real world, and they know how to apply their experience to different situations. You see, education is a tool. It's not a weapon to use against somebody to make them feel inferior. In fact, if you have to use your degree as a weapon to make somebody feel inferior, you're the inferior one. Sometimes you need to walk around humble because to me, I can learn from a homeless person, older person, a kid, based on how they're moving in life. And if they're moving wrong, I can say, well, I don't want to move that way. If they're moving right, I can take something from that individual to help me out. It's common sense. It's layman terms. Many of us don't understand layman terms because we're too much into our feelings. And then when you talk about or challenge somebody who has a degree, this is when they're going to say, well, I'm smarter than you. I got a degree. I'm a scholar. No, you're not a scholar. You are a college student who had a lot of debt, and you're not really who you think you are. Got a lot of people who talk smart, but in the real world, I guarantee that's not how they're living. And you have to be careful with listening to everybody on the internet. And I'll tell people, research what I say as well. You have to check everything out for yourself. But when it comes to degrees, I've seen a lot of people on these panels with them, especially some of these women out here. And in the Black community, the educated women are the same as the hood chicks. Why? Because they all believe in feminism. They all come from the Democratic left. They do. It's true. So it's no difference between a hood chick and the educated chick, particularly in the Black community. No difference. They're one and the same. They're just on opposite sides of the spectrum. Because that person who has that degree, because let me give you an example. Give you an example, an educated woman from Detroit. She's on a court show. Her name is Lauren Lakes. That chick is hood as hell. Got a degree, but she's hood as hell. You can see the hood come out. Now, is she stupid? No, I don't think she's stupid. But I'm just giving an example of, okay, a hood chick and an educated chick can be one and the same. But when you're weaponizing your degree, thinking that you're superior to somebody who doesn't have one, you ask that person who doesn't have a degree how much debt they have. And I guarantee you, if they throw that same question back to you, you're going to get offended because that's what's out here today. And so we've gotten so enamored with bragging about who we are, particularly on this internet, when in real life, you're not even living it. You see, after I do videos, cut the camera off, I'm not back up here for another week because I do everything in the real world. That's where I live. And again, I stay humble about my education. I live it. Just don't get up here and say, I got this, I got that, because I don't have to. And I'm not here to impress anybody. And I'm not here to sound more intelligent than anybody. Why? Because when I watch YouTube, or even if I get on a panel, I don't know any of these people up there. Now, I've seen a couple of people when I went to the first Manosphere meetup back in 2021 in Atlanta. Shout out to people like Little Big Nate. Shout out to Sir Tice. Seen those gentlemen in real life. But in real life, they move the same way they do on YouTube. And they read. And the problem is you have a number of people saying, well, I got this, I got that. Well, many of you, you're not, you're educated based on what you study. And again, what you study is a small minutia of what you're going to have to apply to your job in your own field. Because again, what college does is siphons many students in and out every year. And you have some of these big schools where they make the major so hard, so students will fail out. I believe college, it's an institution of higher learning, depending on what you're learning. You're learning a lot of bullshit. Then college is nothing but a propaganda farce, and it's nothing really but extortion. And I know many people who have gone to college, and they're not even working in the field that they majored in. And if you think about it, they have a lot of guaranteed student loans. And I don't care if they have a guaranteed student loan repayment program. If you're $250,000 in debt, you're not even going to get that much loan forgiveness to pay off most of that debt. You'll be able to pay off maybe 10 or 20,000, but you're still going to be in a hole. And again, you have to look at what is the rate of return when you go to school and you major in these useless majors. Not a lot of rate of return. Even if you get a PhD. If you get a PhD, you got to be looking at getting tenure. Well, I will tell you this about a number of colleges today. College is a business. And what college is doing now, they're hiring a lot of adjunct professors because they put them on a part-time payroll. And in fact, when it comes to professors, the adjunct professors were a lot better than the tenured professors because the adjunct professors work in the real world. Whereas the tenured professors, they're busy trying to get grants in there for the school. They're busy kicking back because the bigger schools, the TAs do all the work for the professors. The professor made, like I was at the University of Maryland back in 2000, had a physics class. The professor taught. We had 400 students in that one course. We were in an auditorium. So each student didn't have personalized attention. So when we broke everything up into labs and testing, the TAs did it. The TAs are teaching assistants, which the teaching assistants are basically grad students who are ushering all the tests and the labs for the professor. Because some of these graduate students who are teaching assistants, they're probably in a doctoral program themselves. But again, speaking intelligently, certainly it's good to present yourself intelligently, but you can't be phony about it. Because if you're phony, people can see right through you, whether you have a degree or not. So I'm just going to put it out there like this. When you weaponize your degree and you think you're much smarter than somebody who doesn't have a degree, and then I hear you speak, and then your points come out off the wall, you're not intelligent. You just have an opinion. And just because you look up something doesn't mean that source is right. What you're trying to do is utilize that source to win an argument. But even winning an argument, what do you get for winning an argument? You still haven't proven your point. And here's why I say that. Because how do you know that source is legitimate? See, the person that you are sourcing or the book that you're sourcing, they had to source it from somebody else. So how do you know that that book, that citation in that book that you got the source from, how do you know that's legitimate? Did you check it? No. And the statistics that you're quoting, do you even know how to do the statistics? Can you interpret the statistics? Do you understand that, again, statistics, just because a number is out there, do you think of, well, how old is that statistic? Who took the sample of that statistic? What does this statistic mean? Because I hear a number of them. Well, my statistics say this. Well, statistics are just like specifications. They're a guide. And statistics can be skewed, just like specifications can be skewed. But you have a number of individuals out there to make themselves feel inferior to another person that they're having a conversation with. They want to tell them how educated they are. They want to brag about their degrees. They want to tell them how better with the statistics they are than the next person. That's what I call passive aggressive shaming. And that's also an inferiority complex. Now, there's some people out there that are pretty good with statistics. But again, I don't use anecdotal here. I use what's going on generally. And generally, see a number of individuals up here with degrees, they're pushing that same propaganda that they've heard from college and the mainstream media, and it's not doing them any good. because they're not intelligent. To me, experiencing life, picking up something as you go on from people that may not have your college degree, but you can still learn from them. Because if you can learn from somebody who's poor or rich, it's going to make you a lot better. Because education is a growing process. Having intelligence is understanding the situation, using common sense. Like if I walk out in front of a car, I'm going to get hit. And when I get hit, I'm going to be injured or dead. So you'll be intelligent enough, which common sense is going to come first, not to step out in front of a car. That's just an example I'm using. Might not be the greatest example, but in layman's term, don't step out in front of a car. Don't put your foot in hot water. You see, we all have intelligence. It's how you use it. And with a degree, many of us can go get a degree these days. I think you got a number of people getting degrees at Walden University, University of Phoenix, DeVry, those what we call for-profit schools. But this barrage of individuals were sitting up on YouTube bragging because they got a PhD, a master's. I see you as the inferior ones. Because people who have money, people who have education, they don't have to brag about it because they have nothing to prove. You see, when you brag about how smart and intelligent you are, then you got something to prove. And if you're trying to prove something to these knuckleheads up here on YouTube, something's wrong with you. But again, education in college today is more of indoctrination. And that depends on what department you come from. Many individuals who are from the social science department, and those are generally your easier degrees. They are. Not a lot of math involved, not a lot of science. Those individuals, all they have to do is have an opinion. Now, if you get that degree and you go be a lawyer, that's great. But see, you're only a lawyer once you pass the bar exam. You just have a degree in law, all you can do is talk about it. You can't practice it. That's the difference. And again, if you're in psychology, you're an accountant, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, teacher, anything that requires a state license to get real respect, and on your emails that you have to send back and forth while you're at work, if your email doesn't have Dr. George Prudence, Doctor of Psychology, PE, it's worthless. You went to school, you got a degree, but you don't have a license. And again, a number of individuals who go to school for some of these majors aren't even working in those majors because there are no jobs out here for sociologists or humanities type of individuals. But I find that those individuals that come from the social science fields tend to brag the most. And they don't realize that they have to go to the PhD level because at the baccalaureate and at the master's degree level, everything is saturated. And you're even lucky to become a professor. Not everybody with a PhD becomes a professor. But again, a degree does not make you intelligent. A degree is documentation that you spent 4 years on the baccalaureate level completing a curriculum that you majored in that was interested to you, 30 credit master's degree, again, that you decided to go to grad school after undergraduate school in a major that interests you, or a doctorate, which is a terminal degree. You must understand that every time you go to school, it's a lot of money you're burning. College will put you in debt. There are a lot of individuals with these degrees, even in these spaces. Oh, they're going to hide that. But I guarantee you they're in debt. And I guarantee you have a number of individuals who have degrees, terminal degrees, in those fields I told you about. They're trying to make money on OnlyFans, TikTok. And guess what? Even with a degree, you don't own any of these venues. And you have individuals up here saying they have their own business, using the word entrepreneurship. They don't even know what an entrepreneur is. And see, you have individuals all using the same playbook. I got a degree. And I've seen this information regarding degrees way back in the 90s on all these talk shows. Oh, I got a degree. Yeah, you're still paying out all those student loans. What did you major in? And I know I've watched the Kendra G show. She never asked those females what their degrees were in, what their business is. Why? Tell you why. Because she's enamored by it. She's delusional herself. And all the women who come on her channel are delusional themselves too. And you have a number of individuals, they haven't grown up mentally, chronologically, or aging wise. Of course, everybody gets older physically, but it's your mindset. And again, these degrees you get, they don't teach you life skills. Yes, you can apply what you learn from your degree as part of life skills with communication, with writing. Yes, they will help you in speaking. But you got to be about that. You got to be about using those skills from college. But if you are weaponizing or using your degree as a weapon to belittle somebody because they don't have a degree, then you're the inferior one. In the end, education is what you make it. But at the public institutions and some departments, like the social science department, you're not getting an education. You're getting an indoctrination. Because the real education comes from experiencing what life has to offer. And with life, there are always going to be challenges. There are always going to be changes. And this is what happens in life. Still, the old adage always works. Only the strong survive. If you're delusional, you don't make it in this world. It may make you feel good at the moment. And when you have a degree and you speak well, you may sound intelligent. You'll sound intelligent to individuals that aren't very bright. If you get somebody bright, they're going to challenge you. And when they challenge you, you're going to become offended. And what you're going to do, you're going to tell them, well, I got a degree. You don't have a degree, especially if they don't have a degree. But in the end, The degree is only as good as character as well. Like I said, I don't have to walk around and brag about what I got because I'm not inferior to anybody. I'm not insecure. Generally, when you have to brag and weaponize your degree, you're insecure. You want to feel good about yourself by belittling somebody that may not speak as well as you, or you're claiming that because you have a degree, you're so much smarter and you have money, which I guarantee you have a lot more debt, but you hide it. In the end, let's say it again. Real education, real intelligence comes by living life every day. And I say that because if you're going to make it through life, you got to understand how the real world works. You don't need a degree to deal with the situations in the real world. What you need is common sense. Why? Because common sense goes a long way. With common sense, you don't have to overanalyze anything, or you don't have to make anybody feel inferior because you had a curriculum that you majored in, and now you're going to weaponize that by making yourself look superior when in essence, you don't have any clue of what's going on in the real world. You've just been told by somebody that you are much smarter because you have that degree. But in the end, you've been lied to. And when you have a degree and you follow the lie, guess what? Then you're not intelligent. You're ignorant. Why? Because you didn't figure out that that person was telling you a lie to make you feel good. In life, that's what individuals do. The reason why I say you get an education in life, it's because you're going to meet people who are above you and below you. And you're going to have challenges coming from every direction. Bottom line is, how are you going to handle those challenges? Now, again, I'm not knocking education. I'm not. I only knock it if you're using it to weaponize somebody that because they can't speak as well as you, and you believe because you have that degree, you're making more money, which you may not be making more money, or because you quote some statistics, you think you're smarter than somebody. But you're not. Everything is regurgitated. And in life, what you have to do, be an individual. Because we're all individuals. But if you follow the crowd by listening to this propaganda, you're nothing but sheep. That's what a number of individuals who have college degrees in certain majors are, because they regurgitate the propaganda. When you regurgitate the propaganda and you believe it's truth, then you're living a lie. Then you're not educated. You're a follower. You're a sheep. And sheep get slaughtered, like I said. So in the end, be educated does not mean you're intelligent. Education is about learning. You don't need a degree to learn. To be intelligent, it's really based on your actions, not what you say. Because there are a lot of individuals who are ignorant, but they hide under an ability to speak well, and they hide under that degree. One of the ways to get through life is take a look at yourself. Is there something wrong with me? Real education also starts with looking at yourself and asking, where am I going wrong? It's not about you impressing anybody else. You got to look at yourself. A lot of us have a lot of educated people. They love to blame others. See, when it comes to life, not only are there challenges, but there's accountability and responsibility, and there's maturity. Again, using your degree to shame somebody means you don't have any maturity. It means you have the problem. So I'm just going to say this as I close. Education is a tool. Yes, it's a form of indoctrination as well, depending on what you majored in school. However, use that education to help you travel through the trials and tribulation. And I'm talking about that college education to help you travel through the trials and tribulations of life. You'll fare a lot well. But if you're just using it as a weapon, it's not going to help you because in the end, you're the one still filled with debt. You're the one that went to school for a useless major. And it's easy to sit up here on panels and belittle others because you think you're much smarter than they are because you can quote some stats and you can read a citation and you can write a paper that your professor told you to write, or you're doing research out here and you might not even doing research properly. Just because you look up something, it doesn't mean what you're looking up is correct either. And that's another education. You have to understand right from wrong. But many of us, particularly in the Black community, we don't. And I'm not talking about blacks to put them down. I'm saying we got to do better with education. Because education doesn't make you intelligent. Now, it can help you. What makes you intelligent is experiencing the trials and tribulations of life. Because you're going to meet people that have more than you and they have less. But you have to remember this, just because you have a degree, you only live one time. If you're really that educated, you'd understand how life works. Many people don't. They just get information from unreliable sources to fill their egos, to build their self-esteem, and it's all fake. Life is hard for some people. Life is easy for some people. And education is a tool. It is good to have an education. But anybody can have an education. Anybody can go learn something. But here's the thing. All your educated people who think you're intelligent, if you're so educated, you got off your derriere to go through school, you spent all that money for a BS degree, an MS degree, or a PhD, answer this question. How come you all still don't have a lick of common sense? How come you all don't understand how the real world works? And do you understand that just because you have that college degree, you live once? I'm going to tell you this. Yeah, you may sound intelligent. You may make a lot of money. You may have all the materials in the world, but you still haven't made it. All the materials and that degree you got, and I'm proud I got degrees myself, but I don't have to brag about them because I know one thing, and I know you all know the same thing too. Can't take that degree with you. Remember that. It's great that you have it while you're here, but it means nothing when you're gone. And when it comes to life, you live the best life you can because no one is equal. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some STEM content, check out my second channel, the QCIS channel. I'll be doing some information tomorrow. QCIS channel. Like, share, and subscribe to that channel. And if you cannot find the QCIS channel, on that channel you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Check QCIS channel. And you can check the 401 Talk Zone radio show channel. Both of those channels will be on my Twitter page. The QCIS channel, take it one step further. Since it's an educational channel, that channel will be posted on my LinkedIn page. And in the end, you need to listen to this from the information that I've given you tonight. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. Once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. You all have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.